The Kings have some new initiatives that they are focused on, Chris. We just talked about the offensive rebounding. And there's another one, and we've taken I think we've taken more texts and calls on Sabonis mid-ranges, I think, than threes.
Yeah.
But there's definitely people that want to see him shoot some more threes, and you might just be in luck as Mike Brown discusses Sabonis shooting more threes and how realistic it is. Here it is.
Yeah, if he's open, he's worked really hard on it. He shot it from, at a really high percentage for the volume that he did take him at. And so, hey, in my opinion, increase it a little bit more. I'm not saying go from 1 to 14 a game or 13 a game, but you go from 1 to 3 to 5 a game and see where you are and see how the defense plays you. And if he's going to shoot it at the same clip or at least close to the same clip, now it's just going to create more space for everybody because his man has to step up a little higher to take away the open catch and shoot three.
Has that been a point of emphasis, in conversations with him, maybe to do that?
Cool. I've talked to him about it, and he's been working on it. But I'm not going to continue pressing him because I don't want to put pressure on him to where it's taken away from what his strength is. And what I told him is instead of half rolling, 12 to 15 times a game, maybe half roll 9 to 12 times a game, and the other 3 or so times pop all the way back to 3. So it's a fine balance because when you half roll, now it makes it a little harder for ball handlers that are obviously pretty creative in Malik and DeMar and Fox, to be able to get downhill and score and or spray it, And so picking or choosing where that balance is between the half roll and the pop all the way back is something that we're going to concentrate a little bit more on this year.
Listening to that, it all makes sense, Chris. I do feel like a lot of conversations are had with a lot of teams for their big that can kind of shoot the three ball, and every season it comes up and then nothing ever comes of it. Are you buying that we're actually going to see a change? I guess I've dealt with this other places I've covered where it's okay, Looney's going to shoot more threes, and they're doing it again, by the way, the Warriors are. Looney's going to shoot more threes this year, and he's working on it, and we just saw it with Bam Adebayo, and Bam Adebayo is going to take more threes, and he's talked about it with Eric Spoelstra. This stuff comes out, and I don't know how often. I feel like you have to lose some part of your game to truly get into it, like a Lopez or like a Vince Carter. I know Vince Carter wasn't a big, but are you buying that we'll actually see Sabonis take more threes this season?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Throughout his career, he has taken more than just one a game. He only took 1.1 per game last season in his career. The most that he's taken in a season is 2.6, and that's kind of towards the number that Mike Brown wants him to be at. That was just the season before he ended up coming to Sacramento when he was in Indiana. The problem is in that season, he shot 32% from three, and I think that's the big thing that you have to kind of balance is, okay, is the juice worth the squeeze? If he's shooting 33% on 3 attempts, I'd feel like I'd much rather have him shoot near 40 on 1. I don't know exactly how the points per possession math works out on that, but it just feels like if he's taking the shots for the sake of taking the shots, I think you're going to end up not really making it very productive, not very useful. Now, if he continues to knock down 36 to 38% of his threes on higher volume, he hit 37.9% of his threes last season on 1.1 attempts. Maybe that's where it starts to make a little bit more sense. I think you have to kind of spoon feed it a little bit, get him a couple games where he's taking more than 1 3 a game. It really was as simple last year as, Sabonis takes his 1 3 a game. If he makes it, he might take a second one.
Right.
If he misses it, he's not even going to look for it ever again. So maybe it is just ramping it up to 2 a game. And then if he makes one of the 2, it's 3 a game. And I don't know, the 5 is probably a bit of a stretch, but if he's open, there's no reason for him to not to look to take it. I mean, I know last year he really did take all of his threes pretty much either open or wide open, and that's defined as 4 to 6 feet or 6 feet plus from the nearest defender. He shot 38% on one attempt per game on wide open threes. So I think as long as he is literally wide open, which I think he will be at least for the first month of the season until teams start to see it on their scouting report, whatever. I mean, we saw DeMarcus Cousins pretty much go from none to it felt like 4 or 5 a game over the offseason one time. I don't know if Sabonis has been working on it that much, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's some uptick because he shot well last year and he's in the past not been afraid to pull it. I just think it hasn't really called for the situation here in Sacramento. And maybe it is too an element of we have another non-shooter on the floor now with DeMar DeRozan, or non-3-point shooter, I should say, with DeMar DeRozan. We need somebody else to kind of supplement those couple threes that HB was taking in that starting lineup.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things to that point, and you heard from Coach Mike Brown, nothing changes within the defense if you only take one.
Yeah.
They're just going to tip their cap.
Exactly.
And just keep it pushing.
Literally, they're just going to stand in the paint and say, if he makes it, he makes it. If he doesn't,
right,
I'm here.
It's one possession, whatever. So I do think maybe once you get to 3, right, once you get to 3, that's where it's, okay, you're going into what Mike Brown is talking about. I got to go up because this guy is legitimately trying to shoot threes. But yeah, the one will take the points all day long, especially if you got it on Prop Talk because they've set at 0.5. But it is not changing anything. It is not changing how the defense is guarding him or in turn or in total the rest of that offense. So the one to me is kind of useless. You might as well take at least 2, regardless of if you make them or not, if they make sense, because then even the next time you get on the perimeter, Chris, after the 2, you don't have to take that 3,
right?
But you take, if you're 1 of 2
right,
and you're at the free throw or you're at the 3-point line, maybe they at least think about it. If you just take 1, they just say, okay, well, good for you. You know what I mean? Yeah. We'll keep it moving after that. So I think you do need to get to that 2-3 mark to actually make the defense do what Mike Brown is talking about.
Yeah, and, maybe it's not even a this year thing. Domantas Sabonis is locked up for a couple more years. Maybe this is just a, hey, down the road, like at some point here, we want him to be a 3-point threat, and we see how important that is across the league. It would help Sabonis stay on the floor, I think, in some cases at the end of games. Obviously, his defense is really what's going to be the end-all, be-all in those situations, but it makes him just a lot tougher to guard and a lot tougher to take off the floor. I think it's also, helpful for everybody else. If Sabonis, like you said, if he takes a couple more threes per game, maybe that adds attention to him. Maybe it pulls a defender out of the paint. Most importantly, the center out of the paint. And maybe you can get some cutters. You can get De'Aaron Fox. You can get DeMar DeRozan getting downhill at the rim without a center there to protect it. I think, maybe it's a more of a long-term goal for Domantas Sabonis to maybe put him on alert and say, hey, throughout the season, maybe kind of start to wean yourself into feeling comfortable taking them. And then this next offseason, not the one that obviously we just went through, right. You can focus a little bit more on extending your range. And that's just kind of the future of where we see this team going. Wouldn't surprise me at all. And the problem is, I don't think anybody really has any definite on it, but I just really don't know if Sabonis is going to be capable of upping his shot to that level. His shot looks so mechanical. It just looks, you can see every single step of, okay, my feet are set. Okay, my hand is in the middle of the ball, placed perfectly in the middle. And now it's time to shoot. Make sure your shoulders are squared. He just needs to get a little bit more flow in his jump shot, I think, in order for it to be as effective as what I think Mike Brown's kind of talking about.
You guys are going to love starting 5. Oh,
really?
So exciting. Yeah, watching Domas. I just skipped to his because it was late and it just dropped last night on Netflix. But, man, it's so insightful, and it's just really, really cool to get that kind of analysis and, behind-the-scenes look with Netflix. And
yeah, I saw a clip of him.
You're selling it. You're selling it well, Simone.
It's really interesting. And I'm telling you, it's a trip for anyone who's watched it, knows what I'm talking about. It's a trip seeing Golden One on your TV, like in that setting, in a weird Netflix setting.
You're selling it, Simone. That's why you're the promotions queen. That's what you do right there. All right.
Promote.
Coming up next, We're switching to the turf. That's right, not the field. Well, half field, half turf. We'll explain when we hear from Lawrence Butler, star outfielder of the A's, and what is going on at Sutter Health Field. Stiles and Watkins, Sactown Sports.
The only place you'll find Kevin Herter is Sactown Sports.
Herter's open, steps into three. He's got the